Hola amigos, bienvenidos. Hey guys, and welcome back. It's the Language Tutor Spanish podcast. I'm so glad you're hanging out with me today. I'm your profesor de español, Danny Evans. You know, before we get started with today's practice session, I just want to tell you something. I do try to read the comments on YouTube. I go through as many as I can, and I respond to as many as I can. And also, you know, periodically I have people finding me on Facebook and sending me messages and giving me their feedback there, and that's cool. One of the things I've been hearing people say lately is, hey, can we get some new tenses going? And I'm all about that. Absolutely. You know, this is episode 41, and we've already filmed all the way up to, I think, around 50 or 51. But I definitely plan ahead. And so I started thinking about this, saying, you know, we've learned the present, we've learned the preterite, present progressive, we've learned some grammar concepts, a lot of verbs, a lot of vocabulary. It really is time to bring in some new tenses, and so those are going to be coming in pretty quickly. I want to bring in new ways for you to use verbs, and of course, I'm going to try to be bringing in new verbs anyway, but definitely new ways that you can use the verbs you know and bring in the ones you're learning in the future. You know, basically I want to cover 7 simple tenses and 7 compound sentences, and also we need to do the command forms and things like that. So we have lots and lots of great lessons coming up very soon in the near future. So look for that on the Language Tutor on YouTube. You're going to see a lot of great new tenses coming in really fast, okay? Starting probably around episode 51 or somewhere around there. All right, with that being said, let's get into our practice session today for the verb to know. Now, we had 2 ways to say the verb to know. So what I want to do first, we're going to do 3 practices today. But just really quick before we get into those, I just want to check you on those 2 forms of to know. So first of all, how do we say to know when we're talking about facts, information about something, or how to do something? And you probably just said it perfectly. The verb is saber. All right, saber. And then how do we say to know when we're talking about knowing a person or even deep knowledge about someone or something? And that is conocer. Conocer. All right. Now, for the first practice, what I want to do is take the verbs saber and conocer individually, and let's just check those conjugations, okay? So I'm going to go through the conjugations out of order. First, I'm going to go with saber, all right? And I'm just going to ask you to say the pronoun and the verb conjugation that goes with it, okay? Here we go. The first one is, how do you say you know if I'm talking to one person who is my friend? And that is tú sabes. Tú sabes. And how do you say she knows? And that is ella sabe. We know. That's nosotros sabemos. And I know. That is yo sé. They know when you're talking about just girls. That is ellas saben. Up next is he knows. And that is él sabe. Up next is you know. Now this is the plural form, talking to a group of people using the vosotros form. Vosotros sabéis. Sabéis. All right, now they know, the form that's talking about mixed boys and girls or just boys. And that is ellos saben. And up next is you know, talking to one person in a respectful way. That's usted sabe. Up next, you know, the plural form, talking to a group of people, the ustedes form. Let's do that one. And that's ustedes saben. Ustedes saben. Okay, now let's move on to conocer and check ourselves on those form. Up first is you know, talking to one person respectfully. And that's usted conoce. Conoce. Up next is they know just girls. That is ellas conocen. And now I know. And that is yo conozco. Up next is you know, the plural form, the vosotros form. And that is vosotros conocéis. Up next is he knows. And that is él conoce. Él conoce. Now you know, talking to my friend, one person. And that's tú conoces. Tú conoces. Up next is they know, talking about boys or boys and girls mixed. Ellos conocen. Up next is we know. And that's nosotros conocemos. Up next is you know, the plural ustedes form. And that is ustedes conocen. Last one is she knows. She knows. And that's ella conoce. Ella conoce. Okay, now that takes care of going over the actual conjugations. Next, what I want to do for the second practice today is I want to call out some sentences in English. All right. Now, all I want you to do is just quickly check yourself. If I were to put this sentence into Spanish, would I use a form of saber or conocer? All right. So I'm going to read it in English. I'm going to say it out loud. And I'm going to pause, and all you do is say either saber or conocer. All right, let's go. The first one is, she knows my telephone number. And of course, if we put that in Spanish, we would use a form of saber. All right, so that's how these go. Up next is, we know Latin American literature well. And that is conocer, because that is Latin American literature. That's a lot to it, a lot of stuff, authors and time periods and all kinds of things and works. So that's conocer. That's a lot of knowledge about something. All right, up next, dead giveaway here. I know how to play guitar. And that's saber. The dead giveaway is we know how to do something. That's always saber. Up next is they know Paris very well. And that is conocer, because knowing Paris is a lot of information. Okay, that's deep knowledge. Up next, I know the neighbors next door. And there's a dead giveaway there, because neighbors are people. If we ever say we know people, even if we don't mention their names, it is conocer. And now, do you know his address? And that is saber, because that is simply knowing facts or information about. Now I'm going to ask you, does he know you? Does he know you? Yep, that's conocer, because you are a person. We say we know a person, is conocer. I know how to cook. And that is saber, knowing how to do something. Two more. They know the Atlanta airport well. And that is conocer, because that's a lot of information about just saying you know the airport well. That's a lot to it. And the last one, he knows what happened. And that would be saber, because that is information about. Saber. And that takes care of our second practice. All right, guys, for our third and final practice of this episode, what I'd like to do is call out some sentences to you in English. I want you to translate the first two words of each one. So you're going to have to decide which one it is, saber or conocer, and then come up with the correct conjugation. All right, this is going to be cool. All right, the first sentence is, I'm talking to a group of people, first of all, using the ustedes form. Let's use ustedes, okay? Do you know all the students in the class? Do you know all the students in the class? Come up with the first two words in that sentence. And that should be ustedes conocen. Ustedes conocen. You could also say conocen ustedes. All right. Either way, when you ask those questions, you can flip it just like in English. All right. The next one is, she knows my telephone number. She knows my telephone number. And that is ella sabe. Ella sabe. Next is we know Latin American literature well. And that is nosotros conocemos. Nosotros conocemos. Now, I know how to play guitar. And that would be yo sé. Yo sé. And just a quick reminder, to play the guitar is tocar la guitarra. Tocar, and I would not say how. I'd just say yo sé tocar la guitarra. Up next, let's use the vosotros form, talking to a group of people, and ask, do you know any guitar chords? Do you know any guitar chords? And that would be vosotros sabéis. Vosotros sabéis, or you say sabéis vosotros. And the next one is, they know Paris very well. They know Paris very well. And that is ellos conocen. Ellos conocen. You could have also said ellas, because I didn't really specify, did I? All right, up next is I know the neighbors next door. And that is yo conozco. And next one is he knows our friend too. He knows our friend too. And that is él conoce. Él conoce. And now I'm asking a question to you, someone I know well. Do you know his address? And that would be tú sabes, or I could say sabes tú, or I could just say sabes, right? A lot of different ways in asking questions. Here we go. Next one is she knows that guy. And that should be ella conoce. Ella conoce. Up next, they know our gate number. They know our gate number. And that is ellos saben. Ellos saben. Okay, now for this next one, let's use the vosotros form again. And let's ask the question, do you know Juan and Rogelio? Do you know Juan and Rogelio? And that should be vosotros conocéis. Vosotros conocéis, or conocéis vosotros. Next one is he knows what happened. He knows what happened. And that should be él sabe. Él sabe. Do you know how to fix this? Let's use the usted form, talking to one person. Do you know how to fix this? And that would be usted sabe, or sabe usted. Okay. Next one, I'm going to talk to you, one person that I know well, the tú form. Do you know Barcelona well? And that is tú conoces, or conoces tú. Now I'm going to talk to you, but I'm going to use a respectful manner, talking to one person. Do you know French art? And that is usted conoce. Usted conoce. And friends, that wraps up today's practice session and this episode of the Language Tutor Spanish. I really appreciate you guys listening and subscribing and keeping up with us. And we're just glad that we can help you out, you know? Just glad that we can be a part of your Spanish language learning adventure. And wherever you are in the world right now, I just want to wish for you paz y bendiciones, peace and blessings, and all the best to you and your families. And I just hope you have a great one. Thanks for listening, and I'm going to see you next time on the Language Tutor Spanish. Hasta pronto.